Hello, folks. This is Six. I'm doing the editing, and I just wanted to let y'all know the podcast you're about to hear was recorded after the end of the Guilty Gear Strive beta, but before the announcement that they intended to delay the release of the game to fix issues with the lobby and some other troubles they had. As a consequence, this podcast is fairly harsh on the lobbies because we didn't know at that time that they were planning to fix them. It's great news. I think Miodrag and I are both happy to hear that and looking forward to the game. Please enjoy the podcast. Hello, friends and folks, and welcome back to Neutral Game, your newbie-friendly fighting game podcast. I'm Six Detmar from Scanline Media.
And I'm Miodrag, aka Real Soviet Bear.
We have been poking away at that, well, not anymore, it's been a couple of days. It's been a little bit, but we were spending some time with that Guilty Gear Strive beta that was taking the world by storm. At first, because people couldn't play it, and then they figured it out. But you know,
No. First, the people who paid early could play it, and then the people who didn't pay early couldn't.
So it's a conspiracy.
It's obviously big Arc system works. It's all planned.
It's also why they made the lobbies crap. But we got a fair bit of time in with that. The latest, some might say greatest, iteration of Guilty Gear. We'll have that conversation. But actually, it strikes me, this is the first time we've talked about Guilty Gear on this show.
Oh yeah, we decided to, not endanger this friendship, so we never actually talked about Guilty Gear.
I've gone through a lot of positions on Guilty Gear over the years. I know I first played Accent Core on the PSP and was like, okay. I mean, it's a fighting game on my PSP. How good can this be, really? And then, Xrd came out and I played some Xrd and like, this is pretty, but I don't like playing anyone. And that remained true for a long time. I eventually got to a point where there were a couple of characters I had an okay time with, but ultimately the way it felt was that I thought it was a cool game where no one clicked with me.
Yeah, I started off in 2002 with Guilty Gear X on PC, then I played Guilty Gear XX, the Midnight Carnival, and then I played Accent Core, and I played Asuka, which I don't recommend unless you want a cool soundtrack. I played Xrd. So at some point, I don't know if people are aware of this history, at some point, through some weird licensing issue with Sega and Sammy merging, because Sammy was the publisher of Guilty Gear before, and then the weird merger just ended up with, taking the rights from Arc System Works. So for the longest time it was like, oh, we're not getting any new Guilty Gears ever again, so here's Blaze Blue. Play Blaze Blue, you're never getting a Guilty Gear again. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll play Blaze Blue. So that's why I actually went heavily into Blaze Blue, because I was like, yeah, we're never getting a Guilty Gear again. And then they got the rights back and eventually released Xrd. So, now nobody's getting Blaze Blue, I guess.
Yeah, it does seem like it tends to be one or the other as their focus at any given time. I don't know, maybe Blaze Blue will come back some point. I hope so. I like Blaze Blue.
Same.
But yeah, right now we got this Guilty Gear. And Strive is an interesting game that... So, I personally feel that Xrd mechanically was too loyal to the rest of the series. I'm sure you would disagree with that.
Well, it's not a disagreement. So, depending on which entry you look at, if you look at Accent Core, then it's a simplified version of Accent Core. But the thing was that I think the last Guilty Gear that Daisuke Showatari, the creative director, creator, and musician, the one he was hands-on was Reload. So when they did Xrd, their base gameplay for the systems and the balancing and everything was Reload. So if you compare, usually now when people talk about XX, they only talk about Accent Core. If you compare the Reload iteration, which is the second one, it's pretty loyal to the rest of Guilty Gear. But if you compare it to, Accent Core, is just missing a ton of stuff. Not even, if you just ignore the characters, it's just missing a ton of systems and, just design philosophy.
I mean, I guess my problem was a lot of like stuff that feels like, I mean, I would call it legacy chaff that builds up in these series. Like, I mean, I feel like the classic example is like, I think it's like the stand forward punch on Soul, which, like, dodges projectiles and doesn't have any visual indication that it does that, just because at one point in Guilty Gear's history that was a balance change they made. That kind of stuff that's like been grandfathered in, and I don't think the visual language or the mechanical sense is there. It's just
Oh,
part of the toolkit.
oh yeah. I mean, it still has kind of that problem. Like one of the mechanical heritages is that like dust is an overhead attack, and a lot of the dust attacks do not feel like they're overheads. Like in animation wise, the only way you should know is just it's the dust attack. Of course, it's overhead. So
True.
it does have that problem still.
Yeah, not totally free of it, but I do think they've gotten rid of some of that stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, Strive is a like seems like it's set a little bit forward in time. Some of the characters have grown up. I would say particularly May is the most noticeable. Like, oh, May is older now. So they've done some character redesigns. They're once again using Guilty Gear as their way of pushing forward fighting game graphics. It looks incredible.
Yeah.
Um, and they're trying to make a game that, I mean, you tell me if you disagree with this. I feel like Arxis for a little while now has seen Street Fighter V and smelled blood, and is trying to get at the Street Fighter audience.
Well, what is a Street Fighter audience? Like people who to me that's like people who like Street Fighter.
I mean, I think there's certainly that audience, but I think there's also an audience of people who want a well-made, neutral-heavy, slower-paced fighting game without as many complex elements, without a bunch of extra meters on screen, without a bunch of that stuff.
I think for the longest time they've been trying to figure out how do we do Guilty Gear with less complexity. I don't think they want to do
Mm-hmm.
no complexity, obviously.
No, of course not.
And the problem is that Guilty Gear is like so complex that no matter how much you shave off, it still feels complex. So like they've toned down the amount of like variables and things and systems you need to keep into account in Strive, at least based on the beta, and it's still a lot to keep track of for compared to a regular fighting game.
Yeah, there's still, what, 3 types of Roman cancels? 4 types?
Oh God, no! I think Roman castles are even more complicated now than they were before. It's ridiculous. But that said, yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think they want to be the mainstream game because they've been for a long time relegated to, anime fighter. Whereas the mainstream fighting games are what, like, not counting Mortal Kombat, which I don't think Japanese devs really compare themselves to. You have like Street
Right.
Fighter and Tekken, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so if you look Street Fighter and Tekken, you'd probably go with we need a lot of players so people can feel engaged. We need something that looks good, like has good character designs, and we need something that's easy to pick up and play because those are like
And to
the
watch
barriers.
as well.
And to watch, yes, something that looks watchable. Because a lot of people would watch Guilty Gear and be like, I have no clue what's going on because there's bars and shit happening everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so to that end, we're looking at a pretty revised combat system. We're still doing 5 buttons. Punch, kick, slash, heavy slash, and dust, which I do think is still a pretty weird button setup, but that's just Guilty Gear. That's just how they do things. But a lot of simplified like super inputs and stuff, and some move inputs. They shave down some character move lists. They've really de-emphasized like the wake up game and Oki. They have some new mechanics around like wall break in the corner to sort of make it so that you don't stay in the corner for an entire game. And also they have basically life bars seem a lot smaller. You die much faster in this game.
Yeah, I think a lot of the combat changes were very deliberate, even if I don't like them. For example, they changed the throw input and the Gatling input. So like we're back in the olden days, what your throw input would be forward or back heavy slash when you're next to the opponent, which meant that if your throw whiffed, you would have your heavy slash come out as in sort of option select.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the Gatling changes, like before it used to be you can cancel punch into kick, into slash, into heavy slash, into dust. And now, like, punch only cancels into itself and command normals, kick only cancels into dust, and then slash cancels into heavy slash. It has kind of like this weird relation where you can't really, poke somebody and then hit confirm into a combo, like, based on their opening. So a lot of the a lot of the changes feel like they went like, okay, we don't want, option selects, we don't want like poke into big combos and things like that. Like more of a
And
focus on a neutral
for me,
game.
those are good things.
I think
Those are good things.
I agree. I think like option select is just, like you don't want that in the game, and in Xrd it's part of the tutorial. Like you play the tutorial and it goes like, oh, here's how you do option selects. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, no, it's you should have to make decisions and be punished for being wrong.
Yeah. So
that's video games.
it also makes defense much easier to actually do, because before it used to be you have like faultless defense, which is this input where you press two buttons and you slowly spend your meter to prevent chip damage, and that's still in. But how it used to be is if you were in the air, if you wanted to block something in the air, you needed to use faultless defense to block it. But now you don't. Now you can just block in the air and you get it. So a lot of very deliberate changes. Much stronger focus on neutral and like chunkier combos. It feels like Guilty Gear, but it feels much different at the same time. But I can at least respect that it all seems like they're cohesive changes. There's nothing like, oh, by the way, we add danger time. Like, why? To make it exciting? Like, no, that makes no sense. Please just remove it. So no, everything seems like kind of falls into place.
Mm-hmm. And they also got rid of a lot of things in fighting games. Like, I think that throw whiff, like changing the option select of forward and heavy slash into the forward and dust with a whiff animation, is kind of representative of that larger philosophy of getting rid of some things that like we're used to as fighting game players, but that are kind of weird if you look at them on the face. Like, there's the getting rid of the Oki as a main part of the game, and also they got rid of chicken blocking. If you try and jump and block, you can't block for a couple of frames after you jump. And so they like intentionally stop you from jumping to avoid a 50-50. And also they make it so that the air dash is like kind of weird. It's kind of like a little bit delayed to stop instant overheads.
To stop most of them, you can still do weird stuff like
Yeah.
tiger knees and things like that. I've noticed, but yeah,
Sure.
for most part, yeah, it works. I mean, they've also added a dash button that helps you do instant air dashes easier.
Well, it helps you do instant air dashes as far as like it helps you get it as soon as you can. But if you do it, it's still slower than like instant air dash in Xrd.
Yeah. I also think that Oki is reduced, but I feel like it's still there. Like, it probably like not as much as obviously as before, but like Melia relies on Oki, and she still has Oki, and there are some characters with very meaty attacks and projectiles.
That's true. There are some characters that still focus on that, but it's not like, I mean, I think there was a degree to which it could turn into with some fighting games, and I would say Xrd is one of them. For some characters, it could turn into vortex situations, right?
Oh,
where
definitely.
like the whole game plan was knockdowns and then standing up was just a nightmare. And I don't think it's nearly that punishing.
Yeah,
in Strive.
Yeah, it didn't help that just like I think they don't have more reversals, but because like Oki is less of a problem, you feel less powerless. Because before it would be you have Venom, who's like a really good character, and then it's just like, oh well, he doesn't have mirrorless reversal, so if he gets down, you're kind of screwed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess talking more generally, like compared to Xrd, or I mean, you can compare it to whatever Guilty Gear you want, whatever one I think speaks to you as like what the core of Guilty Gear is. For me, it's Xrd because that's what I played the most of. the direction of this, like, how does this feel to you?
I think at first, after I got over the barrier of I need to get used to, not throwing with heavy slash and that my moves won't cancel into each other. I think it feels like Guilty Gear. I also think that in a lot of cases where people go, oh, there's not enough moves on the character. They have like I don't know, like 5 or 6 moves or something like that. I think a lot of that was a bit overblown. Like it feels like I didn't feel like anyone didn't have the tools they needed. Maybe one character I played, I was like, maybe you need like one more thing or so, but it feels like Guilty Gear. It just feels higher stakes and higher punishment.
I think the only character where I felt that way was Chip. Chip feels bad to me in Strive. Like Chip, they took away his teleport, which was kind of the character.
Yeah, I can see that. I think Chip to me feels like how I felt about May in Exert because they took away May's DP spin. In Exert where you do a DP and then she kind of like spins in the air and you can readjust where you're going. And I was like, oh, why did they remove this? This is a classic move. So I can feel that at least. Like I can understand that because when I play Chip in Exert or XX, I always go, like I don't even know what your game plan is without the teleport. Like in a lot of cases, you're relying on it.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, also it was like if I feel like it's the iconic Chip ability and really fun to use, and like after playing some Exert in anticipation of the Strive beta, I played a fair bit of Chip in those sessions, and I went into Strive being like, okay, maybe I'll main Chip. And learning that he didn't have the teleport, which was like the cornerstone of my game plan, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll never play this character again.
Well, at least they removed Dizzy, so Chip is automatically like 70% more useful.
There is that. Well, they removed Dizzy for now. They're still gonna have season passes and stuff. We're still gonna.
I don't feel like it. Well, no, not Dizzy as a character. I mean Dizzy as a mechanic.
Oh, okay. Yes, they did do that.
Yeah, so
I was like, oh, is Dizzy a hard counter? I didn't know.
No. If you counter hit Chip with a lot of attacks, he's just dead.
I mean, that still happens. You can one touch Chip in this game.
Well, with Potemkin, you can one touch Chip, but I feel like most things Potemkin can one touch or two touch.
I am not the world's greatest May. I got some 2 touches on Chip. That boy fragile.
I mean, yeah. May is like a mini Potemkin.
That's true. She does hit like a truck. So did you play Temkin in this? Was that your boy?
So okay, so here's my thing. And when I started playing Guilty Gear, I played Venom, and then I played on keyboard, and then when I needed to transition from keyboard to gamepad because everybody was playing Accent Core, I was like, well, I can't do a charge character on the gamepad because I don't know how to hold a gamepad. So I played the Robokai. So Robokai was my boy for the longest time. Then Exert came, and I played Venom and primarily Potemkin. But then near the end of Exert's life, quote unquote, I switched to Batman, and I realized, oh shit, I didn't actually learn to move around in the game because I was playing too much Potemkin. So I told myself I wouldn't main Potemkin in Strive because I want to learn how to move in the game. I don't want to just like play a grappler. That said, I did play him a bit to just like see how he feels, and also because the lobby connections kept dropping on me and I kept getting annoyed. So I played him, I played Giovanna, and I played Nagoriyuki a lot. Those were kind of the 3 I kept rotating.
So I had several friends who played Giovanna. I poked at her a little bit myself. She just seemed kind of boring. I mean, she's got good style, but like, I don't know. Sell me on Geo. I just didn't see the appeal.
So to me, Geo is a lot of making the opponent guess, which I like doing. So you're basically making them guess the high-low mix-up, and you're making them guess the cross-up. And that's something I really enjoy doing, aside from doing parries. So that resonated with me, and a lot of her moves have really well, a lot. She doesn't have a lot of moves. Her moves have really decent spacing options.
Hmm.
So, for example, her down back kick, the one where she like kind of does the roundhouse with the wolf as a trail,
Hmm.
that's like a very good spacing tool because if you do it as far as possible from the opponent, you're not really punishable, and it's easy to combo into that move, kind of like as a you know semi-easy juggle. And then when you have her air attack, which is her basically flipping doing like a somersault and then spreading her legs,
Hmm.
that one's really like fun to do because if you do it from the ground, like at like a normal distance, you hit opponent from the back. But if you do it point blank, you hit them, you cross them up. But if you do it in the air, you can kind of like dash in the air to bait out an anti-air and then do that, and that'll like give you an extra little hop to let you avoid the anti-air, and then you land on the opponent and smack them. So she has a
Hmm.
lot of very good spacing and neutral options, and I think once she gets you in the corner, she can get really relentless with the guessing game. And this game is much harder to confirm combos in, I've found, than previous Guilty Gears. They're much tighter, but I've managed to get at least like some simple confirmations, and even though the damage isn't that great, it's still kind of like I feel like it will get really good once you learn to reliably do them.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I didn't have much trouble comboing with May, but hers are pretty just like like whack 'em with the anchor into dolphin to whack 'em with the anchor again. And then half their life is gone.
Yeah, Giovanna doesn't do much damage, and she has this thing where if her meter is full, she does 10% more damage on everything, as long as the meter is
Right.
full, or the tension meter,
Hmm.
not a special meter. She still doesn't feel like she does enough damage, but there are like a few tricks you can do with her. Like she had her one super is a pretty good reversal. Her air super is almost instant. You can cancel into it very easily. She has like a command Tatsu as well. So I think like she's more effort. She kind of reminds me of Tsubaki, like early
Oh, sure.
Tsubaki in Blaze Blue, where it's like, yeah, this is a lot of effort to get some damage, but when you do get damage, and it's pretty satisfying.
So here's a thing that surprised me. I was poking at almost everyone because there was no reason not to, right? Just to see how they were. And for the first time ever, I really enjoyed Kai. And I'm trying to figure out what they did to Kai to make him fun when I've never had fun with Kai before.
They let him keep all his toys. That's basically what they did. Does he still have a command grab? Did they remove that or not? I didn't check.
I I think they removed the command grab,
Okay,
but
thank
like I don't know.
goodness.
It could also just be that they added like just the effects on like his fireball and like in um double X and in Xrd was always so dinky, and
Mm.
it feels significant now. And like I like the dragon install, and I don't know. He just all of his moves feel good in a way they didn't before. I don't think I'll main him, but he'll be a character I consistently mess with because he's just fun now.
Yeah, I'm so tired of seeing Kai. I'm so tired from this one beta. I'm so tired of seeing Kai. It's just like, why can't you do everything? Because everybody feels like they have this specific blind spot where
Mm-hmm.
they're like really bad at something, and then Kai is kind of above average at everything. So you're kind of like, oh god, why are you so good? Why do you always have options, you shitty king? That said, the upside on this game is that everybody looks so fucking pretty that like even the people you hate, you'll just go like, man, you're gorgeous, but you're a piece of shit. But I love how you look.
Yeah, the first game I played with Nagoriyuki, I saw Nagoriyuki in his intro, and I was like, God damn, that's a hot man.
Yeah, yeah, Nagoriyuki is really damn good. I actually he's the first one I tried in the beta, and I got my ass completely whooped, and I was like, oh, I guess Nagoriyuki is crap. So then I played Giovanna for a while, and then I came back, and I'm like, oh, look, the character with unorthodox movement is much easier to learn once you understand basic movement in the game. Who would have thought? So then I
Hmm.
understood how to play him much better.
Yeah, he's the only character so far that has a unique mechanic, like gauge. I mean,
Eddie is there.
oh, of course, Eddie. I forgot. Of course, I didn't play Eddie because because,
Yeah.
um, but I guess him and Eddie. But it was interesting because I was trying to sell a friend on this, being like, "Hey, you should try it," and they were like, "Oh, those Arxis games always have too many meters," and I'm like, "Well, not this one doesn't." I'm like, "Well, there are a couple characters, but Nagoriyukis are pretty easy to understand."
Yeah, just don't get it full.
Or do get it full and then just cash out with the big super, the home run swing.
Oh god. No, he's very interesting. His meter reminds me of Robokai's overheat meter, actually, of all things, because in XX Robokai has this meter where if you keep doing too many high meter moves, your overheat will just max out and you'll explode. Except here you don't explode, you enter a blood rage and your health just vanishes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's this thing where I really like it as like a representation of how he works, right? Because he's a vampire, and like when you use normals, it's fine, but when you use a bunch of specials, when you're basically drawing upon vampire magic, which consumes blood, it makes you more thirsty for blood. I just think that like it's simple and elegant in a way that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I do like that you can cancel specials into special Hakumen style. At first I thought, man, it's just impossible to get near anyone in this game as Nagoriyuki. But then I kind of realized, actually, like if you can get within like poking range, you can actually just cancel a few specials and just be immediately in the opponent's face. So he's kind of slow, but then he gets like a burst of ground he covers very quickly.
Well, and also he's got like his 6S is like a long range poke Rekka.
Yeah.
He seems like he definitely has weaknesses, but he seems both really cool and pretty good.
Yeah, he seems like he's pretty good. I've seen some famous YouTuber people make thumbnails of Nagoriyuki, the worst character in Strive? Question mark, question mark, question mark. But no, I think he's pretty good. It's just he needs to get into your face, and there's some resource management involved. But I do like that, with Robokai, if your meter is like, so here's a balancing act that they kind of kept in Robokai's meter. The higher the meter is, the more damage your normals do. But with Nagoriyuki, they kind of kept that as, well, if you get full blood meter, what will happen is you'll enter the state where you have a unique super and you do more damage. And also like the actual animation of entering blood rage, if you time it right, you can kind of push back the opponent because it actually does this like burst. I don't think of damage, but a burst of knockback.
Sure.
So I think in that regard, it's kind of like you can. This is a drawback, but you can use it to your advantage.
Yeah, really, really interesting mechanics with him. I'm really fascinated by that design. I think it's a really fun way, because I think you're right. He does feel like Hakumen-ish, but he has his own spin on it, and also like, listen, I hate to say it, but if you're having this guy as your stand-in instead of Slayer, he's cooler than Slayer.
Oh yeah, they definitely did a good job of making characters feel cool. And I think the updated visual designs in general are all very, very good. I was actually like kind of related or not, but I was watching the video on Overwatch 2 that was released some time ago, and they showed the updated designs of characters. And comparing how they updated characters from Overwatch 1 to 2, and comparing how characters were updated from like Exarch to Strive, like Arc System just has I think a much better understanding of generally like character visuals and like character design, because a lot of characters look different, but they look the same.
Yeah, they didn't just give Chip a bulletproof vest.
Yeah, like they didn't like go like, oh, like what, how many new belts does the soul need or something like that. I think my favorite redesign, it wasn't the beta, but the trailer was released of Ino, and I think I was wondering how they would update her design, because her XR and XX design are pretty identical. But I feel like her new design is pretty much like, yeah, that's definitely Ino, even though she's wearing more clothes and has a bigger hat.
I mean, she's going for like MILF librarian now.
Yeah, no, it's the character design in this game. I have the character designs and the music so far. I have not heard or seen anything I didn't like. Even like in
Mm-hmm.
Xrd, there were some designs like Axel. I hate how Axel looked in Xrd, and a lot of the songs I didn't really care for. In this one so far, everything's just a banger. It's amazing.
Yeah, that said, you should remove Axel from the game.
Oh my god, like I don't know what's gonna be worse to fight for people. Is it gonna be Axel or Potemkin, because both of them seem like a nightmare. Like they just seem like the fun police.
Yeah, playing against Axel as May, it was just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
Every match I've had where I was playing Nagoriyuki versus Axel, I was just like, as soon as they get to you, and if I don't wall break, you're fucking dead. Because
Yeah.
if you play this entire match, you try to get into somebody's face, and then you wall break and you go into neutral, and then you just sigh, and it's like, well, time to try and like air dash block into Axel again.
Yep.
That said, Potemkin does absurd damage. I haven't he does more damage than I feel Potemkin ever should have, but it also makes sense because everybody does a ton of damage, so of course Potemkin should do even more damage. Because I think Milia and Chip, they need like 2 command grabs to die. It's like ridiculous. They don't even need a super command grab, they just need a regular command grab to die.
Yeah, it does seem a little excessive. I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out in the main game, but these rounds can go really fast sometimes.
Yeah, I have not timed out or gotten close to timeout once so far.
No, not at all. Even against fucking Axels.
Do you feel though like like Blaze Blue Tag has very fast matches as well? So they made somebody asked me this. And I think it's a good question. Blaze Blue Tag had fast matches, and it's best of 3 on tournaments instead of best of 2 matches. And Tekken has 3 rounds by default. Do you think for Strive people are gonna stay with like best of 3 and 2 rounds?
I think they will because of momentum, right? That sort of thing I find is often hard to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within a community. But I do think if people were to make the switch to 3 out of 5, it would be better for the game.
Yeah, because it feels like if you get like momentum in a match, you can just steamroll a person at least for that round.
Mm-hmm.
Which I also think is why the wall break is almost kind of there, because it just kind of kills momentum. You do get more tension recovery, but now you're back to neutral and the pressure's gone. Because
Yeah, absolutely.
If that didn't happen, then the matches would be even faster.
Right. It's a mechanic to make it so that you can't just like get someone in the corner once and the round is over.
Yeah.
Even though you still can do that if you just like hold up and pace yourself, but it's trickier to do so, and in doing so you probably give them opportunities to get out, so I think it's okay.
Yeah, I think the Roman cancels, the new ones, and the wall breaks are going to be the thing that take the longest time for people to figure out how to actually play around. I'm not too worried about combos. It seems like people will figure out combos fairly easily, but when and how to deny wall break and how to actually use the new Roman cancels, that's going to be the long-term depth of the game, because Roman cancels are pretty similar to how they used to be, but they're still, they replaced the dead angle, which is, reverse on block. They now have the time slowdown property that's more prominent than the Xrd, and there's also like the forward momentum, which I haven't really messed around with, where if you do a Roman cancel, your character kind of dashes forward.
Yeah, I saw someone use a Roman cancel to do a combo that, like, one without Roman canceling wouldn't have been possible, but also they did a combo from the corner that they turned into a cross, like they switched sides with the movement on the Roman cancel.
Yeah, so I think that's where the like big brain long term life of the game is gonna come. Like, because people were worried, your Strive is gonna be solved easily because Guilty Gear XX and XR, they have so much complexity, and there's so many things you can do in any given moment that there's still like a lot of depth to it. I think with this one, what's probably going to happen is people are going to spend the most time with wall break and Roman cancel, and then as new characters are added, that's kind of gonna kind of change the equation. So like it kind of gives them a buffer time to make the game with like even more complex.
Yeah. I guess my big worry is that Roman cancels could be the point where they lose that audience that's looking for a more simple game, because like even now I didn't play as much as you, but I played a decent amount and I understand the concept of Roman cancels, but with like the 3 or 4 different types, when I see them I don't know what the fuck is going on.
I think so. How what I tell people all the time with Roman cancels is, if you don't know how to use them for two things. Use them to cancel projectile startup, so you can shoot a projectile but not have the recovery from it,
Mm-hmm.
and use it to make moves safe. If you hit something and it's blocked, and it's going to be punished, make the move safe. And worrying about combos should be your last thing. Just do those two until it's muscle memory, and then when it's muscle memory, then you're probably comfortable learning it to combo.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll try and incorporate that advice. As is, I mostly just use my meter for chip supers as May to just throw out a big whale.
I mean, the supers in this are really good because in Accent Core, the issue was that the supers were really bad, and a lot of people would
Mm-hmm.
just use force break moves, which were the EX moves. And then in
Mm-hmm.
Xrd, they tried to make up for that by having Hellfire, which is when your health is low, your opponent's health is low. I can't remember now. Like your super actually does more damage and has better properties. Um, so they did stuff to make them more usable, but in this one, this is the first time in a while where I felt, oh, the supers are actually good. Like in general, they don't feel like they need something to rely on.
Mm-hmm. So the one I feel like we've been fairly positive on the game. But one of the big downsides of Strive so far has been the lobby system.
I'll be honest, I don't even know what to say anymore about the lobbies. I've been talking about the lobbies for the past few weeks and how much I hate them, and I think everyone has talked about how much I hate them. So at this point, I think like even just saying that they're unapologetically bad is almost enough. But
I like I like the
let's
aesthetics. Like just
okay.
if I just look at them, they look kind of cool.
Okay, here is my this is a good thing part of the lobby takeaway. I really like the floor system. I think the floor system, and it's not an execution, I don't think it's great because you can be exploited, which I accidentally
Mm-hmm.
did with a friend. But in general, the idea of you have access to these floors because the game considers you this good. Okay, like this is the minimum or height you have to be at, so you can't, you can't curb stop people below you, and if you want, you can fight stronger players above you, and then the more you lose or you go up, like it puts you like higher or lower, and it feels less insulting than ranking up or down in ranked mode.
Mm-hmm.
Because in ranked mode, it's kind of like, oh, you used to be, an S tier player. Well, now you're an A plus. Fuck you, and you feel bad about it. You feel when you get demoted because it's such a negative thing. But in this one, it says, okay, well, we think you should go back to this floor. You can continue on this floor. You can continue fighting here where people are stronger, but you now have access to the weaker floor if you want to. I feel like that's less of a sting.
Yeah, and I mean, I still did like, fuck you unlocking 5th floor for me. I'm a 6th floor motherfucker. Get out of here. but,
Yeah,
but like, then I just stayed on the 6th floor and I fought a few more fights and it was like, okay, you can no longer go to the 5th floor. I was like, okay, like,
yeah.
there's always going to be an element of pride involved. You can't help that. And given that, I think it's a pretty good solution. The rest of it, yeah, everyone has said it. These lobbies suck.
This is like I don't you played Blaze Blue since Calamity Trigger, right?
Yeah, totally.
You saw like the first iteration they had of the arcade lobbies where they had those little like 2D like paper cutout characters, and when they turn around left and right, they're basically like Wolfenstein enemies. They just flip left and right.
Mm-hmm.
That was better than this. That was like infinitely better than this. This is like the worst iteration of it.
The way where when you ready up, it just teleports you to a spot on the map that it decides is good is infuriating.
Well, it's because in the previous beta, it didn't have that. It didn't have, like, the invisible slots, so you couldn't even challenge because everybody would congregate with their, like, 20 or something characters in one spot. Um, and it feels like the lobby has more latency, than the actual game. Because
Oh, it absolutely does.
I was in voice chat with people, and I'd be like, "Okay, I'm readied up," and they're like, "No, you're still on the upper floor," because they would see my side stream, and they could see,
Uh-huh.
I'm still on the upper floor, even though I moved my character down a floor, and it would take sometimes up to 10 seconds for that to update.
Yeah, I
Um,
had lots of instances where I would finish a fight and I would load back in and my character would just be there like doing like the sword pose with their life bar empty for like 30 seconds.
yeah, and
It's just it's
there's no rematch either, and
no.
like I feel the way Tekken does it, where you're a lot. I think it also Street Fighter does it, like where in ranked mode, it's best of like three, but the
Mhm.
opponent doesn't have to accept a rematch. You don't have to have both people accept a rematch, but the max you can do is best 2 out of 3, and then it has to like
Mhm.
re-queue you. I feel like that here was mandatory. Like they should not have done because the tower is the ranked. You have the parks, which are the casual lobbies, but the
Mhm.
tower that's ranked. I want a rematch. It's kind of bullshit if you lose to somebody and you can take them the next round, and then nope, bye. Like the game doesn't let you.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a disaster. Obviously the final release will have private lobbies and private rooms. That will be how I mostly play the game, but it's bad.
I hope you can spectate, and I hope there's a rematch button because if those two
Oh
things are
god, what if you
missing,
can't spectate? Oh
I'm gonna
god.
I'm gonna lose. If you can't spectate, that's gonna be the worst streaming experience for me because it's not even gonna be the worst streaming experience. It's gonna be just the worst experience when you're in a group of like 5 or 6 people in the call, and it's just like, okay, what are we doing? Well, we're waiting for those two to finish. Okay.
I liked that I was able to ready up with a metal bat instead of a sword. That was
Yeah,
cool.
I also use the aluminum bat. It's pretty good. Yeah, lobbies are bad. They should scrap them, but I don't think they will until at least
Yeah.
year one is over.
Yeah.
I honestly
So,
feel but say I honestly
okay.
feel this is gonna be the danger time of Strive. When they kept asking them, please remove danger time from Extra, please remove danger time. And they're like, no, trust us, danger time is good. It's like, no, it's not. It's really bad. You should really remove it. And they're like, nope, it's good because you can't. It's very hard to say for your game like, yep, you're all right. This feature is garbage. We agree with you, so we're gonna remove it. It's very hard to say
Mhm.
like, yeah, we did shit a shit job. And I think the lobbies are going to be the same. I think either the lobbies are going to change after year one to something else and more like digestible, or they're going to fix them, or we're just going to have to deal with them until Strive Second or whatever comes out, like the sequel to this.
Yeah, you're probably right. There are definitely certain choices where like pride gets in the way and it becomes hard to change it. You feel like you have to stick to your guns even if your guns are fucking squirt guns.
And then to be fair, lobby infrastructure, like I would even say like because the infrastructure to make this is so complicated and the front end of it is so complicated to make, like, yeah, I don't expect them to scrap it, but also I almost want to say like, hey, what if you just took the Grand Blue or Dragon Ball Fighters one and just put in Guilty Gear models and literally that's it. just copy paste, even though it's not copy pasting, but just please just take that.
Mm-hmm. So there's it's a series with a storied history, storied roster of characters, and obviously they're going to be doing season passes. Everyone does these days. Um,
5 new
I
characters
really
for year
want to.
one.
What'd you say?
5 new characters for year one is confirmed.
Okay, great. I want Elfelt. Give me Elfelt.
Yeah, I put here in my notes something, and I think it says "You make me sick" because I want to see Alpha. Alpha is the second to last character I want to see in this game.
Why do you not like Elfelt?
Oh my god, like, it's just like I have, like, obviously she's not gonna play the same as an exort, but holy shit, playing against her is such a chore.
I Elfelt is my favorite character to play in Excerpt. I love. There's not a lot about Elfelt I don't love. The one thing I do hate is her inputs, and they would change that.
I mean,
Make Elfelt playable by human hands, and I will be incredibly happy.
My reaction to like if we didn't have all the nerfed iterations of new 13 and Blaze Blue, and like they made a new Blaze Blue and like okay, first character announced, new 13, like the Calamity Trigger version, I would just die inside. Like that's how I feel about Elphilt. I'm just like so tired of her. But everybody has bullshit in this game, so it's not that big of a deal.
She whacks you with a bouquet and throws rose grenades. She's great.
Did you play Exert on launch?
I don't think I did.
So on launch, if she threw her strawberry grenade and you hit her, it would not disappear. It was it was the most miserable fucking experience fighting her. It was so miserable, and they changed that, and it was slightly less miserable. But yeah,
there is no pity and no remorse. I just want people who fight Elphilt to suffer.
Yeah.
I mean, you must know how I feel. You want Robo-Kai.
What past trauma do you have of Robo-Kai?
I played some plus R against Robo-Kai. That's my past trauma.
Robo-Kai is great. I love him. His entire storyline in Revelator is like the best. Robo-Kai has always consistently had good story modes. I freaking love him. But yeah, I won him. I played him. He's my boy. He has more personality than Kai these days. So I just want him back. I need to know 6 in the story mode in Revelator 2. He said he made a promise to someone to make like what was it, like Tangerine Garden or something like that. And I'm like, I need to know who did he make that promise to. I need to know.
Sounds like he doesn't need to be a new character. They just need to feature him once in the story mode, and he'll just. I
already had to deal with that. So, okay, here's the other thing. I wanted Robo-Kai so much for Exert, and when they said like, oh, who's the next DLC character? They actually went on record saying like, yeah, we're doing Robo-Kai next, and then they changed plans and decided to make a new game. I was so upset. I could have gotten fucking Robo-Kai as DLC in Revelator. I would have been so fucking happy, and they're just like, nah, we're doing a new game, sorry.
Okay, well, I guess I'll allow it. We can have Robo-Kai as part of the first season pass.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know if we're gonna get him. I'm not holding my breath, but I really want to play as him again. And also, I would really appreciate to just have characters who were like in XX, but not in Xrd. I think we need to see more of them. So it's like
you want to get Cliff Anderson.
That one can stay dead. He's canonically dead. I don't think we have to bring him back.
Actually, I wouldn't mind Order Soul. Order Soul's fun.
Order Soul would be good. I was actually thinking about it, and it's like, I don't really care for Order Soul, but actually, I would rather have Order Soul than Baiken. I just don't want to see Baiken anymore because and this is a very petty reason. I just got sick of people crying for Baiken for so long in Xrd, and going like, I'm not gonna buy this game until Baiken is there, and then Baiken released, how many years after Xrd initially launched, people were like, wow, she's so difficult to play. Wow, everybody's so good at this game. I guess I'm not gonna play Xrd. Like, you've been crying for this for years. But I want to see Answer as well. I want to see characters who have not been in Xrd but are classic characters, and I want to see characters who made a debut at Xrd. So I want to see like Batman, or I guess his sister because he's dead now, maybe,
or Elfelt, who made a debut in Xrd.
I mean, if we have Ramlethal, there's no reason not to put an Elfelt.
That's the real. I mean, I was so convinced. They teed us up. They were like, we're going to have a big announcement in February. And I was like, oh, it's going to be a Valentine's Day announcement of Elfelt. It would have been perfect.
Oh, no. They've been trolling with those character announcements. I had people fucking up in arms at the Axel character announcement because Axel's character announcement started with a butterfly and everybody was convinced it was Anji. And then it wasn't Anji and people were rip shit. And then they announced Anji and people were happy again.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, I'm glad he's in. So I want to see him.
Yeah.
I want to see Zappa as well. I basically want to see anyone who was not Nexer. I would
not
be happy
Zappa.
to see.
Zappa's a bad design.
I would love to see Zappa. Fuck it. Just go whole ham. Go like into chaos. Embrace it.
Leave Zappa. He doesn't belong in modern games. And
No.
similarly, I would say leave Bridget, mostly just because I don't. That's
They can update Bridget. I'm pretty
they
sure they can
can.
update Bridget.
I don't want to see this studio try and do a trans character. I just don't want to see it.
But they've done it in BlazBlue.
Yeah, they did a really good job, didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, not Mai is fine in the game. If you read any of her backstory, it's immediately yikes.
Yeah, I agree. But look, I feel they should give it a shot because they've been pretty good with other representation in the game so far. I think they could probably nail this, especially with a more like I don't know, an involved Western branch, because it is the Western fans and Western branch that yell at them for rollback. So they're probably trying to be more savvy about all of this. Plus, Street Fighter has poison, so they need something to compete.
Sure. I mean, if they did a good job with Bridget, that would be fantastic. I just only have so much faith.
I feel like Mori not writing the story helps a lot. No offense to Mori, but I don't think the storytelling in Guilty Gear isn't great, but I feel the characters in Guilty Gear are at least more reasonable for most part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
I would like to see Testament as well. I would hate to fight against him, but I think Testament would be really great.
Testament's a cool character. I'm fine with Testament.
Yeah. I don't know. I know Venom. I love playing Venom, and I love playing against Venom. But like, if they don't include Venom, I'm gonna be like, well, he was there in Xrd. Might as well put somebody else in.
Yeah. I mean, here's the really fucked up thing. The characters I want are the characters everyone else doesn't want. The two characters I would be really happy to see are Elfelt and Jacko, and everybody wants me to go to hell.
I wouldn't. I think Jacko would be a like hilarious character to have. I'm not just
Jacko's great.
I'm just not sure how she would translate. Like,
yeah,
I think they would find a way to translate everybody, but I think for the core cast, they picked a good set of characters because story-wise or narratively, these are the core characters that we have in the base cast. Like, realistically speaking, because anyone that was in the original Guilty Gear plus they're essentially kind of the main cast, in my opinion.
Is Axel a time traveler?
Kinda, yeah. I think at this point he learned how to time travel, but he started off with accidentally ending up in the future and then accidentally ending up in different time periods, and then I think through Xrd he learned how to control his powers, and now he's, I guess, mastered them.
Spreading the gospel of the UK everywhere.
I mean, I think he's originally from 90s UK.
Ugh.
He's very intent in letting you know he's British.
I only hate him because I fought against him. I think his design is looking at him, I'm like, look at this dweeb in an affectionate way, but then you fight him and you're like, God, I fucking hate this man.
He's very annoying. No, he always makes like an appearance in Guilty Gear, like he's always been part of the core cast, but he's not super popular among Japanese players. I think it's mostly the West who plays them, and from what I understand, people in Japan only play him to hard counter Potemkin. But now he hard counters everybody, so I guess like you could just play him all the time.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I think that's all I've got on the Strive beta. I really enjoyed this, and that's the first time I had a lot of fun with Xrd, but that's because I was playing with friends pretty much. Like, at the end of it, I always felt kind of weird because nobody felt good to my hands. And I don't mean like it was painful, though sometimes Elfelt was slightly painful. But it was just sort of like the physical experience of playing characters in Guilty Gear has never felt very satisfying to me, and finally in Strive it does.
Wait until they add their first guest character now to Kurogane.
I would be fucking hyped for that. Oh, I would be so excited.
I think they're gonna add my guess is they're adding a guest character. But that's just my gut feeling.
I feel like they'd add a guest character from a different, like not from one of theirs. They do, from somebody else's, not from like Blaze Blue. Though that I would be really high. There's so many great Blaze Blue characters. That would be really fun.
Yeah, to just add in Hakumen. But no,
Hakumen would fuck this cast up. Hakumen would kill everyone.
I don't even know where you would bind his parry button. Heavy slash, I guess.
Just kick.
Yeah, who needs a kick in this game? But no, yeah, I'm
what
very
if he had
excited.
it? What if he had it instead of dust? What if he couldn't overhead?
I mean, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited about this. It's out mid-April. Very excited. Getting it on PC. I know a lot of people are very excited. I'm not too concerned about the comments about it's it's simplified, it's casualized, it's I don't know what else. I personally think it's still very complicated, and I think for most people who say like, oh, it's simpler than XR, you're probably not gonna. I think most people aren't gonna get to a point where they solve this game on their side.
I think, I mean, I do think it is simpler, but I think it's simpler mostly in ways that make the game better. So yeah. I'm here for it. And it really can't be like, you see videos, you think it looks pretty. When you are playing it yourself, it's gorgeous. It's such a pretty game.
Yeah, and this was on PS4, so like on PC and PS5, it's gonna look.
I mean, I was on better. PS5, but it was the PS4 version, so.
But yeah, it's gonna look even better.
Have you heard? There's some stuff going around that the fight stick support on PS5's fucked up.
I don't know. I don't really believe in PS5s. I don't really think they exist.
I had a really bad mental health night where I made an incredibly bad choice and spent way too much on a PS5. Let's just leave it at that. I regret my choices, though. There's some cool stuff on here. I played Gundam Battle Operation 2, and the PS5 version runs great.
Yeah, I wish I had a PS5 so I wouldn't spend half of my life in loading screens on my base PS4.
It is nice for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Miodrag, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on twitter.com/mdkii, that's MDK Roman numerals 2, and you can find me on twitch.tv/RealSovietBear.
Known streamer of Guilty Gear things. I'm sure we'll see some of your streams when Strive comes out.
Oh, but
we'll see your Strives before that, but you'll be streaming Strive, I assume, when Strive comes out.
Yeah, I'm gonna be playing that a lot. I'm gonna be playing it at least once a week for a while.
Nice. And I'll be on medical leave, so I might even be able to join.
I would say nice, but I don't know if medical leaves are a thing you say nice to.
Hey, listen, if you're going to take it anyway, you might as well enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
If you want to find me, I'm on Twitter at Sixdettmar, SIXDETTMAR, and also my work is at scanlinemedia.com or patreon.com/scanlinemedia. I do a lot of podcasts. I think you would enjoy some of them. And friends and folks, until next time, peace out.
Bye.